Someone just recommended me this horror/mystery web series, and I highly recommend you check it out. It's pretty epic. It's called Look-See, and it's an underrated show on the channel CryptTV, which is also an underrated channel that's doing pretty well for itself. It only has 5 episodes, and each one is 3 minutes long. The series is planned to continue, meaning we're going to get more answers in the future, but for now, we can only theorize on what we're going to see next. The series seems to take place in a small town after 13 children were poisoned. Each episode, we seem to be following a different person who is connected to this mystery. The first episode is the perfect setup, it's just plain and simple. The first shot is of someone standing there with no eyes, followed by a woman running into a bathroom absolutely terrified. She hides in the bathroom, and on the door there is writing telling her to do something. If you yourself cannot release, then it will come and take a piece. Straight after, we're followed by memories of the husband, which is the guy who lost his eyes just earlier, and then she begins to take off her wedding ring and drop it in the toilet, but she can't. So this is the perfect setup, and it kind of explains straight away what's happening. You have to give up something, or else someone or something will come and take a part of your body. That's why the guy had lost his eyes. He clearly couldn't release something, and that's why he's lost his eyes to whatever it was that's following him. She's about to drop the ring in the toilet, but she can't, and because she can't, a creature known as the Look-See appears. She eventually grabs the ring and drops it into the toilet and flushes it. However, when you think it's all over, the Look-See appears above her and rips off her wedding hand. But just before that, we see a shot of the wedding ring in her hand still, meaning she didn't actually drop it into the toilet. So straight away, it started off plain and simple. This creature tells you to release a part of your past, to let go of some of the regrets you have, and if you don't let go of them, then he will come and take a piece of you that relates to that thing that you're holding on to. For example, this episode is called The Wedding Hand, and her left hand is the one that's been taken away by the Look-See, and the wedding ring is the big whole thing of this episode. So because she couldn't let go of the ring, he took away her wedding hand. The character's name is also credited as Jenny in the credits. These credits actually help us distinguish which character is which in the next coming episodes. The second episode starts, which is by the way my favorite episode. It begins with a picture of Jenny and her husband, but this time it's been looked at by a woman called Marlene. She rips a piece of Jenny and screws it up, pretty much implying that Jenny's husband is having an affair with this woman. Also, Jenny's husband is called Daniel, as Marlene walks into the other room expecting Daniel to be there as she hears a noise and shouts Daniel. So we've established all 3 characters' names. On the back of this picture though, the same writing appears for Marlene this time. If you yourself cannot release, then it will come and take a piece. Basically saying that Marlene needs to stop having this affair, or the Look-See will appear and take a piece that relates to the affair. In this case, he takes her head. Yeah, I think the Look-See took the head on this one because Jenny's husband was attracted to Marlene's face, and because Marlene wouldn't let this affair go, the Look-See came along and took a piece, which was her face, which relates to the thing. And just quickly skipping along to prove this point, in episode 4, we actually see Daniel looking over at Marlene, and clearly he couldn't let go of the affair and neither could she, so the Look-See took her face and also took Daniel's eyes, because that's what those 2 things are what started the affair. Episode 3 comes along and it's a completely different person. I know some people have said that this is the husband of Jenny, but it isn't. It's a new person called Jonathan, as you can see in the credits. And also if you put the person next to Daniel, it's definitely not the same person. It's very clearly played by a different actor. Because it says in the description. So yeah, this is someone different. We see a shot of his daughter being drowned in the first half, and then we cut to him making a cake. It must have been her birthday, and he's looking over some pictures. He just wants his daughter back, but the Look-See appears and says if you yourself cannot release, it will come and take a piece. So he has to let go of his daughter. He has to move on. When he encounters Look-See, he actually puts the cake in the bin, but that's not the piece he needed to throw away. The piece he needed to throw away was something that hinted at the start, which is a red ribbon, which belonged to his daughter's dress. So the Look-See came along and took his arms. He took his arms, not his hands, because we get a shot of his hands on the table, but his arms are missing. Also, this episode is called The Father's Hug. The Look-See took his arms, so he could no longer hug. The credits roll for episode 3, but after that we get another scene, and it's of Jenny in a wheelchair. We also see her left hand is bandaged up, meaning that this is taking place after the look-see took her hand, and she's writing all the letters. Episode 4 actually starts to tell more of the story and connects all 3 episodes together, basically saying that everyone that this is happening to, it's happening in the same town. We open up with a shot of a kid dying, followed by a newspaper article saying that 13 children have been poisoned. We then see a scene with the whole town just sat at a church, giving their respects to the children who have been murdered, and here we see Jenny and Daniel together, but we also see Daniel looking over to Marlene. He smiles at her and she smiles back. Jenny realizes this, and this is probably what led to their divorce. Also, she looks at this guy. This guy is Jonathan, I think. It's not credited on the actor's IMDb, but it does say that Jonathan is in the video, and this guy does look pretty similar to Jonathan in the 3rd one. This does look like him. I know he has glasses in the 3rd episode, but you also see a picture where he's not wearing glasses. We are then introduced to Gretchen Holt, who is a parent of one of the kids that was poisoned, and the message appears, "If you yourself cannot release, then be prepared." But just before the look-see is about to take a piece, she is saved by a strange man known as Lewis. And instead, the look-see decides to take him. He gets dragged in by the curtains and a mysterious watch is left behind. Gretchen seems to have survived and the credits end. But we get an after-credit scene with Lewis, the guy who saved her, and he is writing on the bathroom wall that Jenny ran into in the 1st episode. Episode 5 comes along and we see Lewis killing himself, followed by Jenny waking up in the hospital. This is obviously what happened straight after the look-see took her hand. She actually encounters the look-see again, but this time she is given the watch that belonged to Lewis. But what's interesting about this is the watch is ticking backwards, and even the title is called The Backwards Watch. And that's pretty much all we have so far. There's obviously going to be more episodes, and here's what I personally think seems to be happening. It's very important to note that these episodes are not played in order. There is an actual video uploaded on the CryptTV that plays all the episodes in order, and it essentially goes Episode 4, Episode 1, Episode 2, Episode 5, and then Episode 3. But from what I can tell, the look-see chooses a host, and when he's found the host, he gives them the watch that ticks back. And I think they only, because it's ticking backwards, that means they're on a timer, so they only have a certain amount of time to do what the look-see needs them to do before they're killed, I guess. And the look-see orders them to create these messages. If you yourself cannot release, then it will come and take a piece. They tell them to write these over and over again and send them to people who are clinging onto their past. If these people refuse to let go of the bad things they're holding onto, then the look-see will take a piece that is actually relating to that particular problem. When the time is up on the backwards watch, it moves on to a different host. That's why we see the Lewis guy killing himself afterwards, because he's done all these bad things and the police or certain things will probably be able to trace it back to him, so he pretty much has no life and decides to just end it. He kills himself before anyone finds out what he's done. The look-see then moves on to Jenny as the next host, which we see in episode 5 where she gives the watch, but then in episode 3 at the very end we see her writing out all the messages, so she's clearly been chosen to be the next person to pass this message around to tons of people. And so far it seems like she's on a timer. That is my interpretation on it. I believe there is a little bit more to look-see, and I will look into that. And when a couple more episodes come out, I may make an actual theory on it. But this is just a little brainstorming I like to do every so often when I come across a new show. Feel free to leave some of your own ideas in the comments. I'd love to hear some theories on this one. The creator seems to be asking for theories, so I highly recommend you go to that channel and just give your own theories and stuff. I like it when a creator just loves to see what people think or interpretations on shows, and this channel definitely deserves a hell of a lot of recognition because they're doing some really good stuff, and the guy Landon Starmer has done a really great job for this particular series. Thank you all for watching. Feel free to leave a like and subscribe if you want to see more. I actually don't do videos like this very often. I tend to make more theory-based and more in-depth stuff, but every so often I make something like this on a show that I really want people to watch, and I just kind of put it together quite quickly just to brainstorm a couple of ideas and see if I can get the ball rolling on certain things. And yeah, it's a bit of fun to do on the side, and also something to put in between the bigger videos. Also, if you want to check out my Patreon, if you ever feel like donating, there's a couple of Patreon friends there now who've already donated, who are amazing, and I've just put them in the names there, and they get to see these videos a couple of days early sometimes. So yeah, that's all I think I have to say. Thank you guys for watching. I will see you in the next video. Stay safe and don't pull a Picard.